Hey everyone, it's Tori from Calypso Creative Planning, and at the time of recording this, I still don't know if this is going to be part of a live stream or if this is going to be fully pre-recorded, but I got a request to learn how to turn your screen recordings into Plan With Me videos. So that is what we're going to be looking at today. I'm going to show you how I took this screen recording that was actually during a Patreon live stream. That's where the request came in. And so I did lots of talking while recording this. So there's going to be a little more on the editing side of the actual screen recording. But I'm going to show you how I take my screen recordings, create a background, and then throw it in editing software to create an overall Plan With Me video. So this is going to be part one in this little mini series. And part two we'll do next week, and that's where we take that same screen recording and we turn it into a time-lapse video that we can share for like a little quick Reels video on social media. So let's dive in and, fingers crossed it all works out. And if I decide to do this live, then, bear with me with this weird intro. Okay, that's it. Let's have the fun little song so we can dance in our seats and then get to it. There we go. Alright, so to start things off, what I like to do is go ahead and figure out my background design and my cover design. So this is just an example of the most recent video that you guys have seen from me. So I do things a little bit differently than how I did in the beginning, but it's all basically the same though. And you can customize it to do whatever you want. I'm going to walk you through the process of starting from scratch. But before we do that, I figured let me just show you some examples. So this is my current setup for creating backgrounds, to where I create my background and my cover photo, the thumbnail photo, in the same document. And right now I just have a basic, just kind of like, let's see, a generic one that's just, I'm calling video graphic, and like the month that I created this new. Instead of creating a new one every single time, what I'm doing now is I just have just like a basic one, and I just swap out the screenshot image and the little decoration pieces. But I do have my title that looks like this, where I can swap these out and just change up the colors every time. And then I have, let's see, I have this one for whenever I do a productivity stream. So this process is taking away the whole concept of like saving a new one over and over and over again every single time. If nothing is really changing but like the screenshot and like the background graphics, like why am I saving it over and over again? So now I just have this generic one, and it doubles as my background, but then also when I want it to be a thumbnail, then I've got this. I just turn on, change the colors. What I used to do is I used to have a background file where I decorated it and, have all, this is my image for the background, right? And then I would create a separate one where this is my photo of that background. And then I've got like this little, the little graphic over here on the side. So you can do whatever works for you. Figure out the vibe that you want. It's okay to change it. My original ones it didn't look like this, and I've changed it a few times. Play around with it. And YouTube now has this thing where you can do A/B testing, where it means you can test out different photos and titles to see which one does better. So, I mean, you can take advantage of that. But this is just you know, like a rectangle, and then another rectangle to give me this black line, and then my text, and I just swap this out every time. So you can just customize it and do what you want. I also have this one where I have a little live stream banner, and then I've got like this little laptop screen. I've got just a gradient background. You know, you can create the look that you want for whatever you're doing. You can swap it up. But I'm going to show you how to create this from scratch. So let me just close all this. I'll be back. All right, so I'm in Affinity Designer, and well, this is the new Affinity. I used to do this in Affinity Designer, but I have since started using the newest version where you've got designer and photo and publisher essentially all in the same space, which I have to say I really like. There's some things that are different, some things that are good, some things that took me a little bit to figure out. And earlier this morning, I accidentally turned off half my toolbars and had to figure out how to get them back. So luckily I did before I started recording. But anyways, we're going to go to File and New. And honestly, it doesn't matter which one you choose. We're just going to make our own settings. These are my presets. I'm sorry if I say too much. It happens. These are some of my presets that I've already done. So you can create a new one where you can like save it in your thing. But what we're going to do is I'm going to change this. We're going to do our size at 1920 by 1080. Okay. And we're going to change this. I'm going to say video background. Okay. And I like to keep transparent background on just because, you know, you never know when you need it. And we're going to actually use a transparent background for part of this. So go ahead and make sure that's checked. I like to do 300 dpi just because that's the sweet spot. And I'm going to say create. Is it going to do? Okay. Oh, create preset. There you go. All right. So now I've got this, right? So if I want to do this again, this preset is here. And see, I could just swap up and choose one of these. But now this preset is here. I'm going to say create document. Boom, there you go. Now, remember how I said you need the transparent background? Well, that comes in handy whenever we're creating our tablet overlay. For the background, you can use, this is just the shape tool. I'm just drawing a shape here, and you can choose, I'm going to go over to vector persona. You can choose whatever you want for this background. It could be just like a solid color. You could go to the gradient, and where's my stuff? Okay, well, remember whenever I just said that this morning half my toolbars disappeared? And okay, well, I couldn't, I went to choose gradient and the option was not showing up. So up here, I had to turn on the show context toolbar. So if this is not showing up for you, that's where you find it. I honestly do not know what I hit this morning for it to all go away. I just bumped my keyboard because there's no way I turn off Control Alt T just bumping my keyboard. So I don't know what I did. So if this is not up there for you, that's what it is. You need the context toolbar. So context toolbar, we are in the fill tool. It's also G. And I'm going to switch over to linear. And I'm going to draw start to finish. Okay. And then for the top, these are my color palettes. So if you don't have a color palette, you can choose. Okay. If you have a color palette, you can come in here and choose colors like this. If you don't have a color palette, when you click on one of these nodes, you can double click on the color fill and you can type in a hex code, or you can use the eyedropper and match something. Now, I will say that this new version of Affinity, I have had some weird stuff with the color picker. I don't know what's going on with that, but for this instance, we're going to choose this. Now, if you want to do a photo for your background, you can either have a rectangle and then fill it. So I'm going to do G for the fill tool. What is happening? Why is my keyboard not working? Okay. G for the gradient, the color fill. So you can choose bitmap, and that's going to allow you to do a photo. So I'm just going to like scroll to somewhere where I have some the background photos, and then I can just pick something like this and see it fills it in. So it's the same rectangle. You've just filled this in with the color, and this is your direction of it. So you can see I've got magnetics turned on. That's up here at the top. But this allows you to place where you want it. And then you can choose this and stick it there. You can choose this and stick it here. You know, however you want to do it to get the look that you want. But that's how this I think is seamless. It looks pretty seamless. Maybe. If it doesn't look seamless, you can, okay, so it's not seamless there. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pull this out to fill it. Now that's if you're using the rectangle. If you want to just add a photo, you can click this button, the place tool, and then do the same thing and just pick a background. I'm just going to pick this one. And this is if you are embedding photos, you can choose this or not. It's up to you. I'm going to say no. And so we're in the place image. Give it a moment. There we go, place. And then this is where you can click and drag. And I'm going to let it snap here. Now, with the previous versions of Affinity, if I were to click this and drag, it would stretch it. But now it does it uniform. So if you want to stretch it, I'm going to hold down Shift, and then I can just stretch it out like that. So that's it. You can have it either way. I don't know which one I like, but I'm going to turn off this one. We're just going to play with this one for now. All right, so now we have our background. The next thing we want to do is pull in our tablet screen. So you can drag images in, or you can use the place tool again. I'm just going to use the place tool again. And I'm going to go to where they are on my computer. Here. Here. And I'm going to pick this one with gold trim. All right, so here's my tablet screen. And I can place this wherever I want. Like if this is in the middle, if I want it in the middle, I can do this. If I want it off to the side, I can pull it over here. You know, just depends on what you want. You've seen in my videos, I typically have like decorations off to one side. For this, we're going to do something different just because, I don't know, I'm just teaching you from scratch. So I'm just going to resize this. All right, so now we have our tablet screen. Now we need to pull in our photo of our screenshot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here to, I pulled it in here. Okay, so this is, I've got two different versions. So one is my before, which is what you'll see in the video, and then one is my after. I pulled both of them in here so I can show you how to do like a fun transition if you wanted to. So for this, I'm just going to pull in the before, and I'm just dragging it in there, right? So you can see that when you drag it in there, it's quite large, right? So this is the difference between dragging it in and placing it with that tool. So with this, I have to resize it. Okay, if I do this, and I'm just going to copy, paste in the address bar, and choose this. So now I can just do this and place it, right? So either way it works. I'm going to delete this one. All right, so I'm going to place this. And what I want to do is I want it to be just inside the edges of the screen. I'm going to center that up. Now, I will say this. This tablet screen is sized based off of my own tablet screen. So it's like the 12.9-inch Pro. If you have a smaller one, like let's say you're doing like a mini, your screen recording and your screenshot are obviously going to be slightly different sizes. So you can play around with this. You can stretch this. If you remember, hold it, well, undo. I'm going to turn this off. If you need to stretch this, you can hold down Shift and stretch it. You don't want to do this because what is that? That looks like shit. Don't do that. Control Z is undo, by the way. Or you can go to Edit and undo. I like keyboard shortcuts. Okay, so if yours is a different size, you can adjust this wherever you need to. Now, you can see that we've got like a little bit of room at top and bottom. Because you know how when you're working in your iPad, in your app, there's always like that extra little bit around the edges. So whenever I did this, it wasn't actually a screenshot. It was I exported the page as an image. So the planner page is smaller than the actual screen, which is why you get these little bits. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a rectangle and let's move it to the top so we can see what we're doing. I'm going to change it to be this gray color. And I'm just going to resize this to where it fits inside here. It's going to go under the tablet screen, so it doesn't exactly matter where it is. So I'm going to center that up and I'm going to move it under our photo. So now you can see that our photo, you've got these little bits, right? So I'm going to hold down Shift to select both of these, move them under the tablet screen. So see, it looks like it's fitting nicely inside there. Now, if you want, you can add some drop shadows and stuff like that. If you don't want, you don't have to. I will say that if you're going to add drop shadows to this, because our screen has a transparent center, you're going to want to group all three of these. So I'm holding down Shift and doing that so we can say right click and group. And to this group is where you would want to add the shadows. So if we go to Quick Effects, I'm going to say Outer Shadow. And I like to go to the left. I don't know why. Most of my accessories go to the left. That's just usually how I do it. So I choose the direction and you see the offset. Obviously you don't want a lot because, I mean, your iPad's not super thick, but just like a little bit. And then when you do radius to make it smooth, this is similar to Gaussian blur in Procreate. If you've ever created a shadow like that, not to be confused with this, that's not the same thing. So because with Procreate, you would create like a shape and then use the Gaussian blur to give it that fade. Well, in Affinity, you can just tell it you want a shadow and it uses that shape. So, and remember, the reason why we're doing it for this group is because if it was for just the tablet screen alone, you would get that shadow on the inside of this, and that's not what you want because your screen is flat. I hope that makes sense. Now, I chose a gray color for this, but if you're in light mode or something on your tablet, you can always switch that to light, or you can go really dark. I like this, you know, lighter grayish color. So, okay, so we have this. Next, let's add a stylus. I'm going to choose this. Let me see. Nope. Let me go here. And let's go to Witchy Glam because that is the vibe that we're going with this. And I do have stylus. Now, I could switch out a screen. I could show you how to do that. So, let's just pick this one. Okay. Now, I like to look at my iPad to figure out the size. That's like about right. And I'm going to rotate this. I'm going to hold down Shift so it locks in directions. Okay, there you go. Now here's a fun trick. Let's say I want this same kind of shadow for my little stylus. If I select my tablet group, I'm going to do Control C to copy and then select this and do Control Shift V, and it applies those same shadow settings to it. So I don't have to go in and set those manually. If I did Control V for paste, then it just pastes it, and then you've just got another copy of your tablet. That's not what we're doing. We're applying properties. And I will say that Control Shift V for properties, it works on a lot of other programs too. So you might want to test it out there if you need to. But so here's my stylus. It's so lovely. All right, for text, there's two different kinds. So you've got artistic text, which means if you select that, then the first time you click, you're clicking and dragging to choose your size. And then you can type in, you know, Calypso, creative planning. Okay, hopefully I spelled that correctly. And then I can resize, hold down Shift and rotate. You know, you can size this up like this. I can come up here and tell it to be all caps, you know, like that. And you see how you're getting that little snap? It's because it's snapping on the center point. Obviously, I don't like this font because, so I'm going to change that. I have some favorites set up, so I'm just going to, no, I'm going to go with this one, and I'm going to say bold. And yeah, so there's that. You can also, if you press and hold this, there's the frame text tool. That means you're drawing out a frame and then you're typing your stuff in there. And then with the frame, you can resize your frame like this. So let's say you wanted your text to center like this instead. And I'm going to do direction. So it does this and this direction. So, I mean, there's different ways you can do it. It just depends on what you want. I don't want that. There you go. Let's do all caps. So you see the difference? Now, if I wanted to change the size of my text, there's these handy little buttons that didn't used to be there, but they are there now. Very nice. But you'll notice there's a second size there's a second little grip up here. This offsides one changes the size of your text as opposed to the corner just changes your box. So I'm going to delete this one and we're just going to leave this one for now. And you can see you've got these kind of alignment things here. This is your, okay, this is your height and all of that, you know, all that good jazz. So we're just going to make sure that's centered on there. So there's our thing. Now for decorations, you can come in here and choose things. Let's see. Let's just choose this. So let's choose a highlighter. I'm going to place that and rotate this, and you know, you can do all these things. What else we got? We could do hardware, throw a little clippy on here, put that there. You get the gist. If you have stuff like, let me see, I'm going to open up on my other screen here. Oh, there we go. It comes up on this one. I have a folder in Dropbox for just like all the shops that I use. And so you can pull in from that. Like if I wanted to take this guy and then pull in like this. This is from Pink Punch Studio. So I can just pull that in. I can resize it. So I want it right there, and I want it to go underneath my tablet screen. So I'm just going to drag it down. Right, there you go. Lovely, lovely. I can come in here and add, let's see. Let's go over to this sticker set. Here we go. And then, let's see. I'm going to take this guy. Whoa, undo. I don't want to touch you anymore. Quit it. Try it again. Make sure you wait till that's on there. Okay. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to pull that down below it. And then, let's say, on my branch, put it over here. You know, so maybe I want this and this to come up. This be over here, like that. You know, you get the idea. You can do whatever you want over here. Do I want... Let me go back to... See, I can spend way too much time on all this stuff, honestly. Go here. And then... Just because that matches nicely. And then put that there. And then I want it under the branch. Got a little bit of the branch on top. Okay. Do I want anything else? Maybe a little like that. There you go. That's fine. Do whatever you want with the decorations. Okay. So now this is our background. So what we're going to do is we are going to, make sure you save. Save. Now, save and save as. Okay, those are two different things. So I'm going to just copy the name of this. And I'm going to say video background. Okay. So save as is like you're saving a copy of this, a version of this as whatever you name it. Whereas save means you've already saved it once and now you're just doubling down, just saving any new changes. So, all right, so here we go. So it is saved. I'm going to come up here and say export. I'm going to choose JPEG. And all of this can stay the same. So we're going to say export. And I'm going to leave the name of this the same. I'm just going to hit save. Where's that? There you go. All right. And then what you want to do for, you know, come up with whatever you want for like your cover photo. Like if you wanted to add, let's see, I'm going to go all the way up here to the top. Let's say I just want to do, let's go to artistic text. I'm going to do this and I'm going to say, digital. That is not how you spell it. Digital, thank you. Plan with me. Now, this looks a little confusing because the spacing needs to be worked on, but I'm going to resize this and I'm going to put it in the middle. And you can come up here to all of your stuff, all of your text stuff. I'm going to get these. You can also, depending on where this stuff is, wherever your setup is, I'm going to change this. I want it close, but not too close. And I'm fine with this font. So we are going to leave this, see, get it in the middle. Maybe we resize it just a little bit. Maybe it's like this. Now to get that look that I've been doing lately, we're going to go to effects and we're going to say outline. And I'm just going to choose, let me go to this one and do, okay, well, I thought I had Arcane Beauty saved, but I don't. I'm going to do this, maybe this. You're going to choose that color. And then I'm just going to bump that up. Okay. Maybe I want my font to be white. Maybe I want this to be black. Maybe I want it to be, this is where, is it going to be tricky? Let's see. Do I want, let's get this purple. Okay. So there's that purple. Now you can see once you get that little, once you get that stroke on here, like you can play around with it if you want it to be like really fat or not. You might want to come in and squish this up or spread it out depending on the look that you want, you know. Now, if I were to come in here and add a shadow to it, this is something you got to play around with. If I go to add a shadow, if I choose this side, if you see, you can't really see it. Like you see it's right there, like that a little bit. The reason why is because it's doing it from the letters and not from like the overall, not from that outline that we just did. So I'm going to turn this off, here's your workaround, okay? I'm going to duplicate this just because it's easier to have two things. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to say make it a group, because one of these I can change to like book journal with me or whatever. So I'm going to turn one off and apply the shadow to the group. That way it's the overall and not just the letters. So now if I come in and I do the shadow and turn this on, you see how it does it from like the overall group instead of the letters? That's just a little, you know, if you want it softened. That's just a little tip. And you can, like I said, you can put this wherever you want it. Like it doesn't, you know, you can have it be off here. You can have it be wherever. You can, I'm going to undo. So get whatever look you want. And then when you have your thing, you can also do like maybe you want a bar like this. I'm just like randomly coming up with stuff. This could be behind it. Maybe this is this color. I don't know. You can do whatever you want. You can put a little logo on it. You could add, if I put this in this group, then it gets the shadow too. So, you know, play around with whatever you want, whatever look that you want to create your graphic. So if you do this in the same document, you don't have to do it twice. And then you can export this, and instead of video background, you can call it video thumbnail. And this is what you would upload to YouTube for your cover photo. Now, keep in mind, YouTube has a limit of 2 megabytes for your cover photo. So keep that in mind. You may have to like change the size, downsize, depending on what it is. But now that we have this, I'm going to turn this off. Okay. And the next step would be coming in and turning off your decorations. Now, it may be helpful to put all your decorations in a group. Like if you wanted to, you could take everything but the tablet and put that in a group. If you do Control G, it also does a group. So then you can just turn it off in one click. And we're going to turn off our backgrounds too. And we're going to turn off this. I know it looks really confusing, but just trust me. Temporarily, we're going to turn off our shadows as well. Now, this is going to give us our placement of where we put our video together. So I'm going to take this one and I'm going to export as a PNG because we want the transparent background. And I'm just going to put this in here. I'm just going to call it tablet screen. Okay. And I'm just putting this in that same folder. There you go. See how it's a transparent background? And by the way, the reason why this is popping up, if yours doesn't, it's okay. But the reason why it's popping up is because I was saving PDFs earlier and I had this option turned on for export when complete. If you uncheck that, then it won't pop up. So it just depends on what you want. So there you go. Now I can turn all this stuff back on. Which one did I do? Did I do this one? See, I can't even remember. Where's my folder? Okay, I did the white background. Okay. So this one. Okay. So there you go. There's a thing, right? I'm going to save, Control S for save. All right. So the next step is going to be getting our screen recording ready. And I will break this up because you do not want to sit here and watch all of it. Because it can get a little time consuming if you have a lot of editing to do. So we're going to transition over to the next step. All right, so for this next part, we're going to take our screen recording, which is right here, and we are going to get it ready for our actual video. Now, depending on what software you're using, what your screen recording is like, you may need to do more editing than not. Now, I don't know about you guys, but if I am working on something and I turn on the screen recording, 9 times out of 10, I am doing something else. So I will have these long pauses that you can see here. Now, when I did this screen recording, we were in the middle of a live stream. It was a productivity live stream for Patreon. So we were talking about other things, and so as we were talking, I was recording, and I was just letting it do the screen recording so that I could do this video because this was the request that came in. So that means I've got to edit out these parts where I'm just like, you know, there may be a good 5 minutes or so where I'm not doing anything. It's just sitting there. Obviously, that's not what you want to see in your finished video. So I'm going to show you how you can edit those pauses out, because sometimes it'll be the hubby interrupts me, the dog needs to go for a potty break, and I got to pull 2 videos together. It's a whole thing. So I just want to make sure that you guys know how to do that if you want to take out these awkward pauses, because sometimes those pauses are annoying. Okay, if it's just like a couple seconds, that's not a big deal. But if you let your iPad sit there and it's still recording while you're taking the dogs out because you don't have this display set to go off in a couple minutes, then you end up like this with this long pause. It's just sitting here doing nothing. It's just like, what are you doing? I was probably talking to Kristen while this was happening during the live stream. So I'm going to show you how to edit that out. Another thing I want to show you is, depending on your video software that your editing software, your screen recording may come in looking weird. Now, I've had it sometimes where it comes in and like the colors look off, or maybe the file is just really, really big and you want to downsize it a little bit but still keep the quality. There's an app you can use. So the software that I use to edit my videos is called Camtasia. But the app that I use to kind of like downgrade this a little bit is called Handbrake. And I'll leave links for these in the description of the video. So right now, the size of this video is 2 gigabytes for this recording. That's kind of a lot, right? Also, once you're done with them, you can take them off your iPad to free up space, okay? Because that takes up a lot of room. Okay, so I'm going to take this. I typically will put my videos through Handbrake. So this is Handbrake. And it allows me to, one, make sure the size is what I want, that it's not doing some weird thing. You can click Web Optimized, and just running it through there, kind of like, I don't know, it seems like locking the properties a little bit or something. I don't even know the best way to describe it. But, so here's Handbrake, and I'm going to take my screen recording and just drag it into it. Okay, let's move this out the way. I'm going to minimize all these things. Okay, so go away. All right, so here is Handbrake, and you can say Web Optimized, and that'll like lower the, not lower the quality, but it kind of like makes it a smaller file size. But really the only thing I change in this is I go to dimensions, and I don't want it to say optimal size. I want it to be the size that it is so that it fits in my tablet screen overlay. Okay, so this is honestly, I think the only thing I change is I uncheck optimal size and then just leave all this the same. So then I'll go to browse, and I'll go to where I have it saved, and I click this so it looks the same file name, and I will type HB dash at the beginning of it, and you want to make sure that it's an MP4 because that's our whole video file. Okay, so we're going to hit save, and then I'm going to say start encode. And so this is where it's going to take the video and it's going to process it, and it's going to like optimize it a little bit better. So this can take anywhere from like a couple minutes, they're not longer. So I'm going to let it do its thing, and then I will come back to you when it's done, and I'll show you the difference in it. Okay. All right. So now our video is done. We are going to let it proceed. Okay. Here we go. All right. So the Handbrake, we can see that the version I showed you originally, 2 gigabytes, right? After putting it through Handbrake, it looks like this, and it's 264 megabytes. So you see how it like, I don't know if compresses it or it just optimizes it better. Now what we're going to do is we're going to actually pull it into Camtasia and cut out all of those pauses. And once again, I'll skip through some of that so you don't have to see all of it. All right, let's move on to that. All right, I've got a new document open in, or a new project open in Camtasia. Now the settings for this part, you don't have to go in and edit the settings, but this is where they would be. So you would just right click and project settings, and this is where you could change your size. But before we start the actual presentation, I know we're very far into this tutorial, but it's kind of a long process. Before we actually start the tutorial, I like to edit the video separately so that it's kind of like less moving parts, I guess you could say. So instead of setting up anything like pulling in your background and pulling in your intro and all those kinds of things, before we do that, I'm going to take this. Okay. Yeah. I'm going to take the Handbrake screen recording, and I'm just going to drag it here on the timeline. Okay. Just going to give it a moment to pull in. Now, you may see it up here. It's like spinning. Now, like I said, I'm working in Camtasia, so your video editing software could be done differently, showing things differently, but they all have sort of the same premise. I prefer Camtasia just because, I don't know, I've been using it for years and it just totally works for me. But it comes in with 2 tracks. We just need one for this because we just have our screen recording. And you can move it anywhere on the track, but for this purpose, since all we're doing is cutting out all of the extra pauses and just the bullshit that we don't need, I'm going to hit this button to magnetize it to the start. So that means that anytime we cut out a section, it will automatically pull it together instead of us having to drag it together. Now, you can skip this next step or you can do it. I typically will like to change the speed of the video just because, I don't know, in my head, I think that it takes me 20 minutes to do a spread, but really it may take me an hour. I don't know, but I always feel like the screen recording is just a little bit slower than real life. And sometimes you just don't speed it up. So if you go to visual effects, you can go to clip speed. Now I've got mine favorited, so it's up here, but it's under visual effects, clip speed. And I'm going to take that and drag it onto the recording. So you can see effect added. Now over here in the properties, you can see that it now shows up here as clip speed, and like clip speed is at 1. It's just what it is, right? We're going to change it and go to, okay, so look, we're at 36 minutes, 44 seconds before we take out any pauses. If we change this to be 1.5, I'm going to hit enter. We're now down to 24 minutes and 29 seconds. You could change this to 2. And now we're down to 18 minutes and 22 seconds. So you could play around with this. You could always start out, like, I typically will do 1.5. Unless it's like a book journal spread that I know is taking me an hour to do, then I might go up to 2 because some of that is just pulling in quotes and it kind of takes a while. So that's going to be the first thing we want to do, is adjust the clip speed if you want to. You don't have to. And now we can edit out pauses. All right, for this, I'm going to increase this. So this lets you see your full video clip all together. That's the magnifying glass. I'm going to zoom in a little bit just because I like to, you know, once you start moving around, if you're really far zoomed down on your clip, then you might miss some stuff. Okay, and I know that sounds kind of weird before we get started, but it's okay. Now, if you press play, you can see how it's going. This is its speed. This is where we're going to cut out any of those long pauses. If it feels long to you, cut it out, right? So let's go back to the beginning. I don't want this part where you see this. So I'm just going to drag this over until that goes away. Okay, so now we have this place. This is selected, and you can hit this button right here to split your track. You can also hit S and it splits it. So now I'm going to take this first part that we don't want, and I'm going to hit delete. And because we have the magnetics turned on, it automatically pops it back over there. So now we just got to edit out these pauses, okay? So go through your video and be like, okay, that's long enough. Okay, that's not so bad. Let's scroll. You could cut out some of this if you want to. It's not so bad. Here we've got a long pause. I was probably talking. You could cut that out. You could leave it. Let's see. This is okay. That's okay. So you just kind of like play around, like, what do you want to cut out? So this is all okay at the moment. And this might be a good place where you decide, okay, is this the right speed? I think this speed works. Okay, that feels like a lot. Okay, that right there, you might want to cut out some of that because you just kind of feel like you're all over the place. Here, okay, I know this is the place where I start talking. Okay, you see how it's got this really long pause? Okay, I'm going to, I think I want to cut some of that out. Let's go back a little bit. Okay, all that just feels like too much. So I'm going to go right there and I'm going to split it. And then I'm just going to, this is where zooming in helps. Okay, so just come forward just a little bit. I know I'm getting rid of some of those things. All of this is just kind of a lot. Okay, so we could, like right there is fine. Okay, so we're going to take this, split again. And then I'm just going to delete this. And remember, we've got it magnetized, so it comes back. Okay, so let's just play this. See how it looks? Like, okay, okay. Kind of a long pause there. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back and... That's the noise I make when I'm trying to figure out timing. Okay. And I'm like, okay, that's enough time. All right, so then now we want to skip ahead to when I obviously was talking during the live stream while I was just hitting record. So we don't need to keep all this in a finished video, right? Because look how long that time is. That is a very long time to be doing what? Nothing. What are we doing? We're doing nothing. Wow, that's a lot of nothing. So you can also just very slowly, if you have the zoom too far out and you start dragging this, then you're going to miss a lot of stuff. But look, so all of this is just a really long, awkward pause that we don't need. Look at that. We're still talking. The gift of gab here. Oh my gosh, how long was I talking? Oh, there we go. Okay. So come back slowly. Wait for that button. Okay, so right there. So I can hit split. So look, see that whole thing? This whole section right here is just me talking. Just talking. Okay? So I'm going to come back and then we can take this and hit delete. And look, no, we just lost 2.5 minutes there. Okay? So this is just what you do. This is like the editing process. Once you go through, you just figure out what do you need to cut, what do you need to keep, and just get rid of any long, awkward pauses. Because like I said, sometimes if you're on a live stream, you're probably not going to have those awkward pauses because you're talking and you're doing this and that and you're explaining something. But when you're recording, you're doing other things. See, look, here's another long pause. This just feels really long. So you could just wait it out and be like, okay, yep. Let's see. Oh, right there. So I'm going to hit S to split it. And then I'm going to just slowly take it back. Right there. I waited for that little thing to disappear. So now I can take this out. Now we're down to 22:16. So this is going to be your next step. Is like you go through, and I'm not going to make you watch me do this for 22 minutes. I'll go through here and edit those out. And then don't forget, we're going to do a save as. So we're in that same folder. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this name, since that's what it was, and I'm going to call this edited. Okay. When I first started doing these videos like this, I would do all of this in the same scene as like having like my background and any notes, any pop-ups and everything. But then I quickly realized that that's just a lot. You end up with a lot of these little breaks over and over again. Whereas if you do it separately on its own, once you've cut all that stuff out, you can just export it as the fully edited video. And then you've got one video to pull in, as opposed to all these individual parts that you've got to move around, because once you add stuff to the front of this, you can't do the magnetic anymore. Then you've got to make sure they're all lined up properly. It's just a pain in the ass. So if you do the editing separately, it makes it so much easier. So I'm going to finish this, and I'm going to, so right now we're at 22:16 and we are at 1.5 clip speed. I'm going to finish editing that, and I'm going to come back and show you what's next. Okay, so I've got this video all edited. I've taken out all the weird, awkward pauses and glitchy moments of the app and different things like that. So the original time for this video was 36 minutes and 44 seconds. We applied a clip speed of 1.5, and I cut out all the weirdness and everything, and the video is now down to 16 minutes and 9 seconds. See the difference that makes? Now, as I was editing this, I was thinking about the other reason why it's so important to edit your screen recording separately from like your overall video, is because if you intend to do this as a time-lapse video, something that, like, if you've seen my time lapses, I cut out the parts where I'm going finding a sticker book and copying and then pasting. I cut that transition part out, and so it just looks like the stickers just pop on the page over and over, and it's really cool. But if you don't edit your screen recording separately like this, then what happens is when you go to do your time-lapse video, you have to essentially do all this all over again. Cut out all this, I mean, because it went from 36 minutes to 16 minutes. So imagine if you didn't have this separately, you would have to either go in and like save your finished video and then take out all the other stuff to do a save as to turn it into a time lapse, when instead you could just edit this all like this and export the final video, and that's what you have to work with. So that is my go-to method. So I'm going to pause this. Let me just hit save one more time. So now that this is all done, it's all good, it's all done, I'm going to come up here and I'm going to say export, local file, and then just make sure you know where this is going. You can always check and make sure. So that's the right folder, and this is it. So this is the edited version. I'm not going to change the name because we did, you know, we saved the file like that. So I just hit export, export, and then give this a few minutes to fully like finish, and then we're going to pull it into our final video, so with our background and our overlay and all that kind of stuff. So I'll be right back with that. Okay, it is fucking finally time to pull it all together into a actual finalized plan with me video. Okay, so we are going to keep our project settings at 1920 by 1080. Okay, and I'm going to do a save, and we're going to keep this name. I'm going to say plan with me. Oh, okay, so it's saying it's too long, so we're going to do, cut this down, cut that down, there you go, save. All right, there we go. So now we have our project, we are good to go. So what we're going to do is we're going to come over here to our folder that we have, and we are going to take our background photo, and I'm going to pull it in. Okay, so we have our lovely background photo. Now this would be the part that I pull in my little intro. Now I have saved my intro video as a separate video so I can swap out photos and everything. So because it is saved, I can easily come in here and, video parts, pull it in, and there you go. Let it load. Drop that right in there. Yep, continue. So here's that little intro video that you guys see. Looks like this, got music to it and all that. Now I also have a little, let's move this out of the way. I also have a little resource, like my flashy subscribe is what it's called. And I'm going to put that in here. Okay. Now I'm going to set this to magnetize, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and I'm going to say duration 20 seconds. Okay. And that'll shift that. So 20 seconds, this would be like, you know, hey, it's Troy from blah, 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 blah. Today's video is blah, 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 blah. That's where that goes. And then you got your intro. And I've got a transition that I would put here. For some reason, I'm liking this angled line wipe. So I'm just going to drag it, stick it there. And I like it to be reversed. I don't know why. I just feel like it works. See how it does that? So I'm just going to slide this over till it snaps to it. So this is what it looks like if I start from the beginning. It looks like this. We've got our lovely intro, blah, blah, blah. This is what we're talking about, blah, 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 blah. Okay, speed up. And then this guy pops up. This is an element. You can get these and customize these or make them yourself with all the fun little things. Then I've got my little intro, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so zoom out. Let's skip ahead over here. Now what we're going to do is we are going to use this same photo. So I'm going to go to media, and we're going to use this same photo as our background. And we know that video is like 16 minutes long or something. So we're just going to stretch this out for a little bit. All right. So this is our background. This is what it looks like. It's our background. Then I'm going to come in and I'm going to take the edited, there it is, the edited video, and I'm just going to drag it in right on top. I'm going to snap it. Okay, so here's what it looks like. Obviously it doesn't fit the background yet, so we're just going to resize it. See where we got our background. Okay, so you can't see my controls. I'm going to move this out of the way. So here's our little background. And because we want it to look nice and finished, so, you know, it's smoothed out with these little corners, that is where this little screen overlay comes in handy. Okay. You can also do import media like this and go to where you have it saved and pop it in that way. I'm going to pull this up so I have a little more room. So here's our tablet screen. And because it's sized the same way, you can see whenever I pull it across, see how it changes it to where it's like tucked in behind there. So you can see, let's zoom in. You can see we've got like this little bit of edge there. So you can adjust that a little bit if you want to. Let's go down to this side. Adjust that a little bit if you want to, because you just want it to like line up and fit in there and look lovely, right? All right, I'm going to come in and interrupt myself for a moment here. Right here where I'm talking about, you know, pulling all this in and resizing it, you don't have to do this part every time. So like if you have this, think of this as like your template. You're creating this file, you're setting everything up with all your stuff. So the next time you go to make one of these videos, you can take this one that you just created and do a save as, and then you can come in and right click on your background photo and tell it to update it with a new photo. You can come in and drag in your new screen recording that you've edited, and you can say copy properties from your previous screen recording and paste it, so it'll go into the exact same place, the exact same size. And so you don't have to do all of this all over again. You're just creating your template, essentially, is what all of this is. So I hope that makes sense. And if you need to see that part of it in a, you know, in a follow-up to this, let me know. But that, it's all about like you create the setup once, and then you don't have to do that every single time. You know, if everything's staying in the exact same place, you can copy properties and paste them and swap out elements. So I hope that helps. Okay, back to it. All right. So I'm going to snap all the way out, drag these, drag these. And so now I've got like this lovely little video that looks like this. A lot of prep work to get to this stage, right? So I'm going to take these three and I'm going to group them. So it's all one element. And then I'm going to come back in here. And I've got this favorited, so I'm going to take that, reverse. I'm going to snap all the way to the end. Now in my little library, I do have this little end piece. Whoa, so it looks like, get in there. Don't freak out on me now. There you go. I'm going to pop that in there. That was an old transition, so I'm just going to throw that transition on there, do the little reverse. So it looks like this, right? So it looks like that. So now, if I didn't want to add any narration or music or anything, then this is done. We're done. That's it. We're done. We just have to export it. Now, if you wanted to come in and add narration, there is a feature here. You do voice narration, and you can see how it's picking up my microphone right there. So you can start recording, and what it'll do is it'll mute anything you have in your timeline. See how it says mute timeline during recording? So it'll mute that, and then you can just start recording and just say your little stuff. You can, you know, start and stop things. You don't have to do it as one long one. You can take breaks as you need to. You can cut the narration just like I showed you how to cut the video. You can pull in music and have that in here. If I wanted to pull in music just for the sake of this, see, I have music saved on my computer. Now be careful with the music you pull in, because not everything is going to be allowed to use. So make sure before you use it, you can. And there's some stuff, if you're using on YouTube, you can pull it in as long as you credit the person who created it. You can pull it in and it's fine, but you may not be able to be monetized. Whereas there's other music, like if you go to Creator Mix, you can pull in that music and you don't have to worry about copyrights or anything like that. You can use it. So you can just pull in music as easy as this, and you can come here and let's see. You can pull that in like this, and you can even come over to audio effects and tell it to fade in. So see how it does that? So it's like this. See? Like that. So you can do that. You can add more music, so it just fills this in like a little playlist. If you don't want it anymore, you can delete it. If you pull in a bunch of stuff and then don't end up using it, you can go to Media, right click and say Delete Unused. See how it got rid of that song? You can also come down here and say remove all empty tracks, because where this was all spread out before, now we don't need that because we grouped it. And there you go. That's really, when you get to this point, it's simple. That's it. Now you can make this a little more flashy, and you could, you know, add in little pop-ups. You can add in like other photos. If you have examples, you've seen some of those in some of my other videos. There's different things you can do. You can do annotation. You can add other visual effects, different things. You can do a lot of stuff with it. So that's all for this one. All you would have to do next is just export it and save it wherever you want it. And now it's ready to upload to YouTube or wherever. And yeah, so once you get to this point, it's simple. Like there's not much left to it. Now, I will show you next week in part 2 of this. We're going to take the edited version of this video and we're going to turn it into a time lapse that you can share as like a TikTok video or an Instagram Reels or something like that. So come back for that part. And I will most likely not be going live with this tutorial. I'll just post it and then be around to like answer questions. So if you have any questions after this, or if you want to see something else, let me know, because we can do any of that, including if you're curious about, you know, how I made this video and put in, I mean, it's the same premise. You know, you've got the music, you've got the stuff. I just added transitions to photos, and that's how I got this. So it works, right? but it ends up being like a lot of prep work. And then once you have all of those elements together, you just pull them into this and you're done. Like that, you know. So this is the easy part. All of that stuff is all the, you know, beforehand work. It's kind of like when you have something for passive income. You may have lots and lots of work at the beginning and then you just set it and forget it type of thing. So yeah, hopefully this has been really cool and interesting. And, you know, if anyone's interested in starting a YouTube channel, this would be a good way to get your videos going. You know, and if you don't want to talk during your videos, like maybe you just want this first 20 seconds to be like, hey, this is blah, 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 and this is what we're talking about, and blah, blah, blah. And then you just put music over it. You know, you can do that. Yeah, and if you don't want to edit your screen recording so you keep all of those moments in, you can do that too. But like I said, this went from a 36-minute video, like screen recording, down to 16 minutes because of all the times that I was stopping and doing other things while the iPad was still recording. So hopefully this all makes sense. If you have any questions, let me know. If you want to see another part or see another element, see something else, let me know. If you want any other behind the scenes stuff, let me know that too. And yeah, so the next video will be going out on Thursday is our bookish stuff. We'll most likely be live for that. We probably won't be live for this that you're watching now, because it's just, that's probably how it'll go. But I'll be available either in the chat while the video's up or afterwards. You know, however you want to do it. So, all right, I'll see you guys later. Ta-ta and toodaloo.